What's up, friends? Today we are here with something special. Exway is back, baby. I have to say, I'm pretty excited about this. If you didn't already read the title of the video, I'm assuming you know why you clicked on it. This video is about the Atlas Pro V3. And man, I've been waiting for Exway to release some new stuff for a while now. If you guys don't recall, the last video I did on Exway stuff was about the Atlas, or not the Atlas, the Concept X board. And that was at ESCs 2025. Ever since then, Exway's kind of just fallen off the radar, I feel like, and I haven't really seen much new from them. And what we're going through today, I think you'll understand why you haven't seen anything new, because they've been busy at the drawing board. Now, we're only going through the Exway Atlas Pro V3 today, but there are a couple other interesting things that we're going to go over in another video, so make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss that. But we're going to be talking about the ADV and the ADV Ultra in another video coming out later this week. Anyway, let's jump into it. There are a number of things that I want to cover on the Atlas Pro V3 today. First of all, can we just appreciate for a second how amazing this board looks? I know looks are very subjective, but this is just such a menacing stance. The wide tires, the angular deck, the four-wheel drivetrain, the small gear drives, and honestly, I've just always been a fan of Exway's design language. I think the Aux Pack was probably a little bit too chunky, but overall it looks pretty good for most of their designs, and this is definitely no slouch. There's a couple interesting things to note here just looking at it straight up. One, we have an Aux Pack hump built straight into the default deck. If you're not familiar, on the Atlas V2, which is here, the Aux Pack bump was not on all of the lids because you could order it without the Aux Pack. I think they've since changed that since things have moved along. And now the Atlas Pro that I reviewed in the past, you can check that out on the iCard if you haven't seen it, but that one I reviewed originally without the Aux Pack lid, and then eventually I added the Aux Pack lid when we did a little bit of content with that. Now, this board has a different battery, so of course the old Aux Pack will not be compatible, but they're using the same sort of hump concept to center the battery on the board. Again, overall appearance I think looks great. These tires look great. The lighting in the side of the deck I think is super cool. Pretty unique, I think, with the segmented lighting. It's not really something that you see on other boards. And if you didn't know this, Exway was actually one of the OGs of board edge lighting with their first release. I don't think they called it Bifrost at the time, but they were the first ones to do board edge lighting. A lot of other companies have followed, and I think they look super cool. This is definitely no different, and they are showing it in orange here, but if I had to guess, they probably are full RGB with the ability to be controlled through the Xskate app or through the Rexus remote. I've never used the color control on the Rexus remote because I just never got around to it, and then my Paragon broke, so I never tried it, but I'm assuming that will work for this board. Moving on, there's been a little bit of product segmentation that Exway has done here. I mentioned just a moment ago that the Atlas Pro is now called the Atlas V2. I'm assuming this is referring to the original Atlas Carbon, which was quite a long time ago. We don't need to remember that, but this Atlas V2 is my Pro that's in my garage right now, with the double kingpin trucks, the belt drive option, and it looks like they're not selling the gear drive option anymore on this one, but they did have for a short period of time the two-stage gear drive version, and before that they had the big gear drive version, which is what I reviewed on the channel previously. Now, since the new Atlas Pro is this four-wheel drive board, kind of makes me wonder if they're ever going to have a two-wheel drive version. This is obviously a very high performance board. You can tell by what it's outfitted with. Pretty large motors, a very beefy battery, and 10.6 kilowatts of rated power. These rated power figures are always a little bit questionable, but I think it's probably somewhere in that range. And if you compare that to the old Atlas Pro at like 5,000 watts for four-wheel drive, pretty big difference. So we're sort of entering a new range of power levels, and I think Exway really needed that to catch up to some of the competition. But regardless, they're sort of segmenting their product lineup. They have the ADV, which is supposed to be, I think, a long-range oriented board. This seems like a performance-oriented board, probably meant for more racing stuff or just people that really want high performance. And I think that's good. They have a good lineup now. If you look at their set up here, they've added quite a few more boards to their lineup. Before, we just had the Wave, the Flex Series, and the Atlas, but now we have the ADV, which I think is a really cool board. We'll talk about it later this week. And then the new Atlas Pro. So all of that is really interesting. I just wanted to cover that at the beginning. It seems like they're taking a little bit of a turn in their product lineup, and I think that's cool. Moving on, again, power. Power upgrade on this board is huge. Four-wheel drive is, of course, a huge advantage over two-wheel drive on raw power, but the fact of the matter is, this is an upgrade in voltage, it's an upgrade in ESCs, it's an upgrade in motors, and all of that put together makes for their claimed 10 kilowatt powertrain. And if you've ridden the four-wheel drive Atlas Pro before, that was already quite a bit of power, so I can only imagine how much of a rocket this is going to be like. I don't know if it'll quite be as much of a rocket as, for example, the Rev board, but that's a 21S board with VESC in it, so kind of hard to compare. But we've got a ton of power here for sure, and powering that is an 18S 3P battery. Now, I've speculated a little bit about what the cells could be in this board. They're claiming that the battery is 972 watt hours, and they told me that it's a 5,000 milliamp hour cell. And they didn't tell me what the exact cell was, but I have a pretty good idea of what it could be. There's a number of 50, there's a number of 5,000 milliamp hour cells that come to mind. One is the Samsung 50S. Probably not that one. It could be, but it's probably not. The Molicel P50B. It's definitely not that one at this price point, because if this was P50B, this would probably be almost $3,000 starting right now. There's the BAK 50D. Probably not that one because it's probably too low discharge. I think there's also a 50G. There's some EVE 50 cells. I think there's a 50E and then like maybe one other. And then there's a couple other companies like 10 Power and Sun Power and some other Chinese companies that might have a cell for it. My guess is, based on this price, we're probably looking at one of the Chinese brands, which, don't freak out immediately, they do make good batteries. I'm guessing it's probably like a 10 Power EVE BAK sort of thing going on. But we'll see. They didn't announce it on their page here for some reason. I'm not really sure what benefit there is in keeping that information back, but we have the watt hours. We know that they're claiming that it can charge at 3 kilowatts, so it's got to be a pretty high C rating cell. And yeah, hopefully they'll release that information before it launches. But huge upgrade in power, 18S 3P on 5,000 milliamp hour cells. Definitely going to get a good bit of range. My guess right now is that it's not going to meet their claimed range, which is pretty normal. It says 31 miles. I'm guessing I'll probably get around 20 to 25 miles. It's a 3P battery, and even though it's a lot more watt hours, I tend to find that things just don't last as long as you want them to. Especially on my standardized testing route, we have a hill in it, so I'm taking that into consideration. If you go the right speed and you aren't too crazy with the throttle, you might be able to get 30 miles, but it's still only a 3P battery. So if you really want range, then you can upgrade and get the Aux Pack. which is a new aux pack at 18S. So if you want to spend a little bit more and pick this up at the pre-order price, which will be done at the end of the day that this release is in, you can pick that up with the aux pack. Now, I have no idea how good this aux pack is going to be, but it's going to add a ton of extra range, easily doubling, potentially a little bit more than doubling, depending on how you ride. So the power and watt hours are there, should you want to use them. On that 10 kilowatt drivetrain, we have new motors, and let me see if there's a spot in the web page for them here. Here's a spot. Brand new, self-developed, allegedly. I'm not sure what that entails exactly, but these are definitely a new design of motor from Exway. I've never seen one like this before. They have venting at the back, a mesh grill in the front, and they're pretty beefy. They are 73 motors, so we're getting closer to the Reacher size of motor, and allegedly around, it says 3,000 watts per motor. I guess the battery is probably the limit that limits it to the 10 kilowatts, but they look pretty cool. I can't really comment on them more than that, but I mean, Exway motors have been solid. I don't remember who they were using before for their motor manufacturing, but I don't think that they shared their motors with any other company, at least not from what I'd seen visually. So that's good to know and good to see development in that front. I'm actually curious now if they have a close-up of the motors on here. I feel like I've seen Hobbywing motors on their stuff before, but we're digressing. I just get really interested in this stuff when I really get into the details. So new high power motors, new high power battery. They're claiming total discharge power of 15.8 kilowatts. So a little bit of headroom on the raw output power that they're claiming. That's always good to know. 270 watt hours per kilogram. I don't know if I saw a weight on this webpage yet, but they're also claiming that they can charge up to 3,000 watts. Now, I was questioning them in my WeChat with them about the 3,000 watts because here in America, you can't reach 3,000 watts of from the wall power without blowing a breaker on standard outlets. If you don't know, usually the standard outlets in America are 10 to 15 amps. So that'd be 10 to 15 times the voltage, which is 120 volts. So you're really limited by the wall outlet when it comes to your charger capability. And to output 3,000 watts of power through, you know, efficiencies and stuff, it's not going to be exactly that from the wall. It might be a little bit less, but the reality is we're not hitting 3K. So I'm guessing there's going to be a special smart charger or a special version of the new fast charger that's a global version that runs on 240 volts that can hit the 3 kilowatts. But in America, you're probably going to be limited to one that's, I don't know, only 1,200 watts, which is still pretty fast. I had the previous fast charger, I believe it's called the SE 1000. I don't know. I made a video about it. It died, unfortunately. I think there was some first user growing pains with that one, but I really liked it when it did work. And from what Exway has told me, the new smart charger is improved reliability and better for mass manufacturing. The price on the old one was pretty steep. The new one is a lot more reasonable. If you haven't seen it, I think it's like $299 for the new one. I think it's called the SC990. They're calling SC1050 here. Might be a slightly different one, but I don't know. We'll just have to see when it releases. In any case, that's insane charging capability, and it really leads me to question what cells they are, because 3,000 watts across a 3P pack is 1,000 watts per P group. 1,000 watts per P group at 75 volts is, let's do quick math, 1000 watts divided by 75.6 is 13 amps per cell. If you don't know, the fast charge rate on most cells is a lot lower than that. So we'll see what cells they're using and how warm they get. Hopefully there will be some way to tell how hot the battery is, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too far until I see stuff in person. So pretty big battery in there for sure. It looks like they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cells. Yeah, 9 cells across, which leads me to believe that the deck is pretty wide. The Atlas Pro deck before would not have been able to support 9 cells wide. If you look at the design of it, yeah, it's definitely wide, because I think these trucks are wider than the DKP by quite a bit. But I like wide decks. I think they're really comfortable, and this deck in particular has a nice little drop down in it. I think it has potential to be super, super comfortable. So power, really great stuff. ESC, I don't know what ESC they're using. It doesn't really say in here, but my guess is that it's similar to the ESC that's used in the MBS agent. It's 18S, probably developed by Hobbywing, and the ESC on the agent was great. I liked it a lot, and it had really smooth power, extremely strong brakes, and man, four-wheel drive with the brakes on that ESC, you're going to stop really fast. I think we're definitely going to see a new record for braking distance. And they don't list it at all on here, which is interesting. I feel like they would want to shout that out, but there's so many things on this webpage to look at, lots of new stuff. But yeah, I think we covered the charging, we covered the battery, we've covered some of the power stuff. Again, I don't know what ESC it is, but I'm guessing it's the same one as the agent. And also another interesting thing here is that they're claiming it's a tabless cell. And if you don't know, tabless cells are still not super common, so that narrows down the cell option even more. If you know what the cell is, let me know down in the comments below. If you have a guess, let me know down in the comments. A little bit of conflicting information on here. 40 amp continuous for the interface. I think that's talking about the charge port. This charge port looks sick. It's a huge 2-pin port with extra data pins, and then it looks like USB-C out as well. And if you aren't familiar with the old Atlas Aux Pack, it did have USB-C out on it, which is pretty convenient for emergency charging of your phone or of the remote. Although the old remotes could not charge on USB-C to C, I think the Rexus does, so if you're carrying a phone charging cord, you'll probably be covered for your remote. Standard charger on this board, 530 watts, pretty good. Fully charged in 2 hours. Again, it's a 3P pack. It's not insane, so that tracks. But what's interesting here is this charger they're showing has a different charge port than this giant one, unless the scale is just a little bit off. But we'll see. Maybe Exway can comment in the comments down below and let me know. Next up, we covered all the electronic stuff. There's a couple more things we're going to cover on that in a minute, but right now I want to talk about the deck. I think there's a section on the deck in here. One, it looks awesome. I think the grip tape design is cool. I think the drop down looks really nice, and I think the width looks really nice. Now, if you're not used to a stiff deck, you might not like it, but this is probably going to be pretty similar to the Atlas Pro with the stiff carbon construction, which is really good for stability. And they're calling it second generation all-round chassis, 1,500 grams, so 1.5 kilograms. And then this is the carbon fiber type, is T300 carbon fiber. and it is a pretty strong carbon fiber blend. I don't know what weave they're using, but it's covered up by paint, so we probably will never know. There's a lot of different ways to do carbon fiber. It's a topic we're not going to get into right now, but this is really all they have on it. Obviously, they're not claiming any kind of wood or anything in there, so I'm expecting it to be a stiff carbon fiber deck, which is fine. There have been failures of carbon fiber decks in the past from companies that make cheaper boards, but I don't think we'll have that issue with this board. So I think it looks good. I'm excited to ride on it. Next up, Drivetrain. 2-stage gear drives, awesome. I have the first set of them. They were actually an adjustable 2-stage gear drive set with different gear ratios. Unfortunately, I think Exway realized that they were just too expensive to make, and they cut the production of those. So I have like probably 2 of the only sets of those original first gen 2-stage gear drives. I think they sound incredible. I'll put a clip on screen right now from my my 92mm test ride video. They sound sick, and so far they've been reliable. I think the benefit of having these 2-stage gear drives is you get much better ground clearance for one, and then you also are still able to have a pretty decent gear reduction. And with more gears, you might think that it causes more complexity, which yes it does, but it can also make it more reliable by spreading the load over more contact points. How reliable they'll be over time, I don't know, but might have been good so far. And generally Exway's gear design has been really good. The first gen gear drives on my Atlas Pro were awesome, really well designed, really solid, not very serviceable, but the design was good. I don't really have any reason to think that these gear drives will be worse than the old ones. If anything, I think they'll be better. They're a new version, so you would think by version 3 they would have ironed out any kinks, probably increase the manufacturing efficiency, and yeah, ultralight integrated CNC aluminum alloy. Interesting wording. For me, number one thing about small gear drives is you get more ground clearance, and honestly, with this board you could probably go down to even like me. I think you could definitely do 125mm thane on here. Just looking at it, yeah, you could definitely do 125 on here. Probably not too much lower because of how low the enclosure goes, but with these gear drives, they're pretty small. So if you want to run thane on here and get like a ridiculous amount of range, probably something you could do, as long as Exway offers an adapter, which is something that I had to make for my own Kegel wheels on the old 2-stage gear drive. So hopefully they'll offer that in the future for people that want to run thane on here. Probably gonna be a pretty bumpy ride, but you never know. People do a lot for extra range. So next thing I want to talk about is the tires. These tires are awesome. I have some friends that have ridden these tires before, and if you know cars, they might look a little familiar. Michelin Cup 2s, pretty similar tread pattern, and Newbie actually sells these tires as well. And people report that they're super grippy, but the actual like the durability of them is a little bit lower, since it's a sort of semi-slick racing oriented tire. So if you want a ton of grip, you're gonna have it on this board for sure. I don't know how many hundreds of miles they'll last, but obviously when you're racing, you're cutting off a lot more rubber than normal riding. So the people that were saying they didn't have a ton of durability while racing might not necessarily apply to your everyday riding. Here's a couple more selling points of these tires. Again, it's just similar to the Michelin Cup 2 tread pattern. I guess this is better for street riding than a permanent like full slick like the Lin Power ones or the Supernovas. So hopefully it'll give good everyday grip on dust and maybe a little bit of water. These are another CST tire. If you are familiar with the other big chunky tires, the Exway extra wides, I did a video on those as well. those are also a CST tire. So I guess CST has been coordinating with a lot of these ECA companies to make these tires. And I'm here for it because the more options we have, the better. Super wide. These are not going to be compatible with your normal rims. I imagine that they would probably be compatible with MBS XL rims, and of course they're compatible with newbie master rims because those are extra wide as well, but they're not going to be compatible with your standard Exway Atlas 2 wheels and probably most other wheels in the market because they're just so wide. But you get all the grip, so it might be worth it. While we're sitting here on this page, talk for just a second about the Aux Pack. So it is a quick release design. Still looks like it's using the strap. This is the new Aux 1300. Looks like it's got that new charging port. Oh, it actually has two charging ports. Okay, so there's a small one and a big one. Interesting. You got PD output. Good to know. And quick charge. That's cool. So it'll charge your phone at its actual native quick charge. Two versions. One is for the 12S boards, 12S 6P, that's the old Aux Pack, and then 18S 4P for the new one. So a little bit bigger than your board battery. So like I said, probably a little bit more than double. 1296 watt hours. And it's probably gonna be pretty heavy. The old one was around 23 pounds for the 12S 6P. I assume it'll probably be close to that. I really like the plug that was on here. It's good. The power balance, I still don't know exactly how this works. The marketing people from Exway don't really know exactly what the engineers know, and the engineers don't really speak much English, so it's hard to get that information across. But from what I understand, it does actually discharge both batteries at the same time, and somehow it's able to intelligently discharge from the one that's higher voltage first, which is the only reason why you can plug in like a partially charged battery into a full board and vice versa. I don't recommend that anyone does that. I think you should charge both fully before you plug them in, but in the past it did work, and that's the only way you could do it, through smart communication, through whatever they're calling their EC plus proprietary communication. I'm guessing it's some form of RS422 or normal, I forget what it's called. There's a couple of normal communication protocols that use a couple of data wires, but it'd be really interesting to know how that works so you could use it on your DIY board, but it's okay. Moving on, well, again, while we're here, I guess we'll talk about the charge port a tiny bit more. IP65, cool. And more current ratings, absolutely crazy. 45 amps continuous, peak current 90. I don't know when you would ever charge something like this at 90 amps. I don't even think like AmpAce cells, or was it EVE 50PL? I don't even think they can charge that fast. Big chunky port though, you're definitely not going to break it very easily. And it definitely looks like a custom connector. I've never seen anything like that before. Alright, here's the big thing. The trucks. Oh, also, let's just give a shout out to this real quick. The dot matrix display, awesome. I think it looks so cool. It's unique. It's not like the same as a DeVega, but it has cool, useful information on it. And it also has Find My. That's awesome. No one's done that yet. I don't know why no one's done that yet, but that's great. As long as your battery is charged, but it looks like it says it comes with backup battery, so that's pretty sweet. We'll see how that works. Hopefully it's not glitchy or anything. Rexus remote. I'm just gonna gloss over that. Now, here's the big debate, at least in the tiny DIY forum area that's been discussing this so far. The FKP steering system. So, if you're familiar with how mountain board style trucks work, this is a flat deck. But we're going to reference mountain board style just because they're sort of in the same size class. This is a standard channel truck. This is a random A-Stack truck that I had laying around. Very similar to the Qua Hyper Trucks. Uses MBS style bushings. very similar in design to the Matrix 2 and Matrix 3 trucks as well. You have a single axis that the hanger rotates about. There are bushings in the hanger that sit on this screw and rotate about that axis. This is called a channel truck, and they tend to have a tiny bit of a dead zone in the middle because when you're riding between the two bushings, neither of them are being put under compression, so it's sort of like a flat zone in the very middle. And there are good channel trucks out there. Some people love them. For me, I'm pretty neutral on them. So that's one design, right? You have the kingpin going sideways. Generally, these trucks are mounted at an angle. Obviously, if you had them flat, they just wouldn't turn at all. That's just not how geometry works. You have to angle them. Similarly, this is the Apex Air. I reviewed these trucks a long time ago. These are not exactly a floating kingpin, but it's a dual kingpin. We call them PKP trucks. And for these trucks, there's no real support. They're just sitting straight on two pairs of bushings. They're not super laterally stable because the only thing that you've got is the tension between the bushings and the kingpins. I really like these for off-road. They were super comfortable because all of the load goes straight through the bushings, but for me, they weren't super stable at speed. Here we have the Rev SAT truck. We're back. My camera decided that it wanted to take a break. So this is the SAT truck from Rev, and Rev has a very unique design here. They have a design similar to a channel truck. However, the bushings never take any of the rider weight directly, which is what's the most unique thing about these trucks. Bushings are on this cantilevered offset lever arm behind the kingpin, if you want to call it that. I think maybe it's called a queen pin or something when it's not directly attached, but this shoulder bolt goes straight through, screws in, and you have basically a channel truck on the front, but the movement is restricted by bushings in the back. Now, I find these trucks to be really maneuverable, however, not as stable at speed. So the last similar truck is the Duality. Now, Duality Trucks have been out for a little while, probably about a year, and they were in testing a bit before that. Tito from Tito Systems was a vendor at ESCAPECon 2025. He brought some of the trucks for people to try, and ever since then, people have loved them. Tucker, one of the racers in San Diego, myself, Geolong, some other people that are sort of popular in the community have tried them and love them. And Brandon Stevens recently has gone like 50 miles an hour on them. They're really cool trucks, and essentially what they are is a very similar design to these. So there's a debate going on in the community about whether or not Exway saw those trucks and decided to make something similar. But the reality is, these are a different truck. They're designed by a different person. Regardless of where the inspiration came from, the floating kingpin design is not unique. There's a company called Liquid Fire. They came out with a pair of trucks that used a floating kingpin design a long time ago, and the adaptation that Tito made for eSkate was unique in that it doesn't violate their patent, and it provided an easy mounting surface for all of our popular gear drives that we wanted to use, and he's done really great work in the community. So the point of this video is to talk about Exway, but the people in my community and the DIY community care a lot about Tito Systems and defending small brands. And while I don't necessarily think Exway is an enormous brand, it's definitely a lot bigger than Tito Systems. And my point of view, I'm not trying to take sides here at all. My job as a reviewer is to take products, tell you if I think they're good or bad, and tell you how they perform. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I think this system is going to be great. I'm buying this board. It's on pre-order already, and I'm going to receive it in August, hopefully. We'll talk about the risks that I think are present with this current setup, but I'm really excited to try these trucks. The actual movement of the truck is very similar to Duality's. It has a sort of vertical queen pin that can be removed, which is very nice, straight out the top of the truck for easy bushing swaps. It has a channel truck like axis with pivots on the ends of the hanger that go into bearings. This is a very different end connection than Tito's trucks. On Tito's trucks, he uses bushings. Anyone that has seen them will know what they look like. They're pivot bushings. And the Exway one uses bearings. So it's going to be a different feel. I think the Tito trucks will feel a little bit more forgiving on bumps and stuff like that. I will also mention that these trucks are at a pretty decent angle, and Tito has a couple different, I think he has a couple different options for what angles you put them at, but on my setup that I'm running the Dualities on, I have it on a Nazaire deck, which is an angle deck, and it's running different angles in the front and back. I can't really tell if these are the same angles. It looks like they are the same angles front and back. And if I had to guess, somewhere around 35 degrees. So you're sort of taking a channel truck and putting it on a flat deck, but at the angle that you would normally have it on a mountain board. So you're sort of getting channel truck on a flat deck, which you can sort of see in this picture on the right here. Yeah, it looks like it's probably somewhere around 35 degrees. They're also drop through, which I think is cool. I think Tito has a drop through version as well, but yeah, it's different components, a slightly different design, same basic concept of having the weight of the rider not going through the bushings. You have a bushing independent of the shock absorption axis. So it'll be interesting to see how these perform. I think I have a little bit of footage from Exway that I can put on screen now to show a little bit of riding with them. A couple of my friends that race were at the China race where Exway sort of secretly-ish debuted this board. It was raced there, but none of my friends that went got to try it. If you were at that China race and you have some feedback on these trucks or the Atlas Pro V3, let me know because I'm really interested to hear. But yeah, these trucks are currently a hot topic in the small DIY community at the moment. My stance, competition is good. If they want to give credit, if they designed based on his, they should. It's impossible for me to say. So like I said, I'm not taking a side. I want to see Eastgate continue as a community. I want to see it continue to get bigger, and I want to see it succeed. So competition is good, makes people innovate, and the reality is having another cool truck on the market is awesome. We have the Rev SAT trucks. We've got the Dualities. We have normal channel trucks, the Matrix 3s from MBS. And if there's anything that gets us away from the slap of DKP on it, I'm for it. So let me know what you think about this down in the comments. I really don't want this to be a war zone, so if anyone gets too ridiculous about it, I'm just going to delete your comment. So keep it civil. If you go on a discussion or rant about companies copying things, I'll probably let it stay, but I don't really think that that's what happened here. Believe whatever you would like. Moving on from that, I think that this product is going to be an awesome board. I think it's going to have a ton of power. It's going to be pretty stable. I think the trucks will perform differently than anything people have ridden before. If you've not tried Dualities, you won't really know what the feeling is. The feeling is great. There's a lot of unique features on this board, and Exway Ace Design has had a history of making some pretty cool products. Some of them maybe could have used a little more testing, but from what I know so far, Vic, the Exway CEO, and one of the test riders have done miles on these trucks. I don't know how many, but they have had some testing and they do like them. So I'm hyped. I bought the board we're going to see how it is. If you would like to buy the board, you can use my code on screen, RBEM. It gets you a little tiny discount on it. I think it's only $15, but I think I get a little bit of kickback. Not really sure. I've never gotten paid, so if you want to get 15 bucks off, use the code. If not, no worries. Pre-order price is valid until 12 a.m. today. So if you want to lock in that extra low price of $23.99, do it now. I think it's probably going to be worth it, especially if they actually release at $3,000. Sometimes they put a retail price and then they mark it down. A lot of companies do that, but we'll see what they actually release at in a couple of months. And we'll hopefully see this board on the channel in a couple of months after I'm done waiting. Now, the last section I want to do here is risks. And as an engineer, managing risk is something that we have to do all the time in our projects. And the number one risk I see here is schedule. Honestly, I'm being hopeful that it ships in August, but with something as ambitious as this, I think there's a chance that it could get delayed. And this is a pre-order, so of course you have to keep that in mind. It's not a product that's ready to be shipped right now. So the Concept X actually never had a pre-order page until now. It's actually available for pre-order. So Exway's kicking it into high gear. I hope they release it on time. If not, I'm going to be sitting here waiting until it arrives. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion. I know this got pretty long, but hopefully I was able to provide a unique perspective. And please let me know what you think down in the comments below, positive or negative. Discuss the trucks, be civil, and let's keep making e-skate an awesome thing to do. See you next time. Peace out.